Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Koval, the president of the Canal Corridor Association, and we're the coordinating entity for the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Area, the first national heritage area in the country. So anyway, we thought it'd be interesting for most people to hear what Dan Bell, who's Site Superintendent of the I&M Canal State Trail. He's a DNR employee, Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and what he had to say about what's going on at the state in relationship to the canal. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dan. And you know, as Barbara just said, Dan and I have both been here for a long time. I've been here slightly longer, Dan, because I remember your predecessor. So,
Sure.
so let's see, I'm going on 25 years. So you're probably just right behind me.
Actually, I have 33. I'm going to complete 33 years next week. I'm starting my 34th year in my predecessor, Greg Kyle, and before him was Dave Carr, and then Greg Kyle, and then myself. We've actually been the only three superintendents on the I&M Canal for the DNR or the Department of Conservation, up until we became the DNR. So I've been here as a site assistant superintendent, a park interpreter, and I've been a superintendent since 1993.
That sounds good. So tell us a little bit about what your duties are there, what your job is like.
Sure. First of all, let me just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you or be interviewed by you and join the CCA in this project. But yeah, I'm Dan Bell, the site superintendent for the Illinois Michigan Canal State Trail and the I&M Canal Complex, which the I&M Canal Complex includes day-to-day operations of 62 miles of the canal, plus 4 state parks, being Shanahan State Park, Gebhardt Woods State Park, William G. Stratton State Park, and Buffalo Rock State Park, along with a few nature preserves and day use areas along the canal or access points. So I'm in charge of the maintenance and the overall management operations for the entire section of the canal and those parks, as well as overseeing state interests in other sections of the canal that we do not maintain or perform day-to-day maintenance activities. For example, in the Lockport section, the Lamont section, or further north, Willow Springs, Justice, Bedford Park, Summit. But day-to-day operations from Rockdale all the way west to Lock 14 in LaSalle. And just recently, the last year or two, maybe 2 or 3 years, we have agreements with the city of Ottawa for a section of the canal that they will maintain within the city limits, as well as the village of North Utica or Utica. We work with each other in conjunction with each other to maintain that area. But those two sections, Utica and Ottawa, are day-to-day maintenance of responsibilities of those two entities just within the last 2 or 3 years. And it's working out really well. But we manage it, both the cultural resources as well as the natural resources, and the entire trail. And I basically pay the bills when they come due, and we set the priorities along with our other DNR divisions like fisheries or natural heritage or fish and wildlife. So overall management and maintenance of the entire I&M Canal from Rockdale to LaSalle on a day-to-day basis in the 4 state parks.
So how many people do you have to help you do all that?
Well, I wish I could say I had more. I have 2 site technicians at Buffalo Rock who take care of, we work everywhere on the canal, but for all intents and purposes, from LaSalle, Lock 14 area to about Marseilles. And then I have 1 person at Buffalo, or 1 person at Gebhardt Woods, and I have 1 person at Shanahan. And I usually have those two guys work together from Marseilles to Rockdale. And I have one park interpreter who does programming, school groups, things like that. So as far as the maintenance end, I only have 4 people for 62 miles and 4 state parks. I do get supplemented with some summer or seasonal help. But as far as full-time individuals, 4 maintenance people and 1 park interpreter. And
So,
myself.
yeah, so how has COVID and this whole year impacted, your budget and what you normally do?
Yeah, it has impacted us. Mainly, I'm sitting right now with 3 vacancies, full-time vacancies, a park ranger and 2 site technicians, 2 at Shanahan and 1 at Gebhart Woods. And they haven't been filled. I don't believe they will be filled. It's been over a year. Because of COVID, there seems to be a hiring freeze where I don't expect them anytime soon. Plus, we just found out last week that our seasonal budget for our conservation worker program, DNR statewide, has been cut 40%. So that, and break that down on the I&M Canal, I lost at least 9 seasonal months, which to do the easy math breaks down to about 3 positions for 3 months in the summertime when we're at our busiest. So coupled with the full-time staff, not vacancies, as well as this seasonal reduction, it's impacted us and will impact us further throughout the summer. And we don't know what next year's budget's going to be starting in July. But I haven't had any money froze or anything like that for this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. So we're on that front, we're progressing as usual.
So we have to pray for good weather, like no floods and, or high winds like today that take trees down, or
That's one of the biggest things on this canal is being it's long, linear, 62 miles. We do get flooding different places, more so than others. And another big thing that we really comes into play is the trees. You mentioned, Anna, that the trees and the wind. We have so many dead ash trees and it's not just us, it's everywhere in our parks, anywhere in the state, in the Midwest, for that matter. The emerald ash borer has destroyed the ash trees, and they're either deader than dead, or they in some process of dying. And I just know the last August when we had that big storm, windstorm, between that 62 miles in Buffalo Rock State Park, we probably took down, that had fallen down, that we had cut up and removed, over 800 trees from one event. And they fall in the canal, they fall across the trail. We do our best to get out there as soon as we can, but that is a big thing, and it takes a lot of time, is these dead trees.
And no extra summer help.
Exactly. That's going to be tough, but we'll get it. We'll get it. Just we ask people to be patient. If there is something out there that you see, we have a good group that regular users on the canal, that they will call, or they'll see one of my workers or myself, and they'll goes, hey, you got a tree down here by the 5 Mile Bridge, or there's a tree down here by the Ottawa, by the Aqueduct. And that helps us a lot. So we can concentrate on that, and saves time from him to run the entire trail looking for dead trees. But we do try to get out on that trail at least once a week before the weekend to make sure that the trail is cleared. But like anything, you could be right out there and then you just get back a half hour later and the tree could fall. But we do our best to keep the trail clear of fallen trees and other debris.
So let me ask you some questions a little bit further removed. So DNR has a number of state parks. I don't remember the number, but we're not really a state park, we're a state trail. But are you treated the same way as a state park?
Yeah, we're treated the same way. Basically, the difference between a state park or a state trail is more the amenities that may be available at that particular site, where a state park may have camping and some other things like that. But it's also based on, the use, the intended use, or, natural preservation. I mean, we have, I think, over 480,000 acres that we either lease or own the DNR, which, over 85,000 water acres. We have state parks, state trails, state fish and wildlife areas, state natural areas. We have state historic sites. We take care of forts, lodges, memorials. We're just a wide variety of things, and can't forget our state historic sites are also with DNR.
So can you give us a little background on how DNR became the steward of the I&M Canal?
Well, before we became the DNR in '93, we were the Department of Conservation. And prior to that, the Department of Conservation got the I&M Canal in 1974. And prior to that, it was with the Department of Public Works and Buildings. And DNR took it over with the intent of making a historical cultural resource operation, as well as the recreational snowmobile, biking, hiking, recreational trail with different access points. So we inherited it from the Department of Public Works and Buildings, and since 1974, that's how we
Gotcha.
came with us.
So do you know how many people use the trail?
It's hard to come up with a number because it goes through all the different communities, but we anticipate or estimate that it's anywhere between 800,000 and 1 million visitors a year between Buffalo Rock, Gebhart Woods, Shanahan, William D. Stratton, Lock 14, Rockdale. People use the canal in Ottawa and all the canal towns. They can just get on at any city street and get on. There's no counters or anything like that. So we conservatively estimate 800,000 or more a year.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty conservative. So tell us about what projects that you're going to work on this year.
Yeah, well, some of the smaller projects that we're working on is removal of the ash trees when we can, hazardous trees within the parks themselves. Buffalo Rock, last summer, we took down over 31 trees. We had more, we had a mitigation project down at LaSalle with the coal tar residue from the Ameren site. We were able to get, I think, 70, 80 trees, and we planted them at Lock 14, Buffalo Rock, and we planted some at William D. Stratton. So those are small projects. Trail work, we did some trail work. We have some trail work planned this year, maybe do a mile or two of rescreening different places. We want to continue the area down by Buffalo Rock, west of Buffalo Rock, to get the water up or get the water off the trail as much as we can, put some culverts in, do some more rescreening, gravel work down there. The bigger projects I'm excited about are the Higbee Run Culvert project in just east of Utica and west of Buffalo Rock. If you remember, I know you remember it back in 8 years ago now, it's coming on. In April, we lost those culverts at the same time we lost the Nettle Creek Aqueduct, same flood event in April. That project was bid out in November, and we're waiting the Capital Development Board, CDB, to award the contract just so they can start work this spring. That with completion this year, and that's probably a $800,000 project. Another project we've been working on this one for a while as well, is the Dupage River Spillway project in Shanahan State Park. It's going to put another bay on a fourth bay on the spillway, help with flood control. It's going to raise our saddle dams and rework the saddle dam just upstream of the aqueduct. And that's almost a $5 million project. And those are two big ones that we've been waiting on. So those are the big jobs that we're going to have this summer. We just completed last summer. We completed the William G. Stratton State Park, some rehab down there with some crack filling and some structural work as well. The big part of that project was replacing the Price Street Bridge, and anybody that's been over that bridge knows that it was in bad shape and needed. And I'm glad we finally got the money for it to come through the Department of Transportation and the Internal Roads program that helps DNR through DOT money for a new bridge down. And that was almost, I think, a $900,000 project. So, and then right now we're continuing on. I know people are anxious about this, but we are continuing to work on the design for the rebuild of the Nettle Creek Aqueduct here. And when that's done, we expect the construction to start next spring. So if all things go well, that's what we're looking for there. When that's completed and the Higbee Run culverts are replaced this year, we'll have our continuous trail back again that right now is segmented because of the.
Amen.
You hear it every day. So do I. I mean, there's nobody in the world that wants these projects done more than I do, because I get calls every day on it. If I see somebody at the grocery stores, at the gas station, hey, Dan, what's going on with this? Can you tell me? It's the mayors, the legislators, everybody. And I'm glad that there is that interest out there. But again, nobody would be happier than these projects get done than myself.
Yeah, I just want to tell a little story because I know that a lot of people are frustrated about various projects, and they call us thinking, they call the Canal Corridor Association thinking we can do something about it. And just to let everybody know, if you write to the director of DNR or the governor or whatever, what happens is that letter just finds its way to Dan's desk, and then he has one more thing to do because he has to answer that letter. So, I would much rather, if people wanted to express their frustration about the condition of the trail, that we, maybe collate the letters or whatever, and then send a larger missive about all the people that are interested in the trail to Springfield, so that Dan is not sitting there responding to all these letters. So unfortunately, there's no good way for us to really help him get some of these things done, other than helping find more money for these projects so we can move them along.
And I try to remind people as well that the I&M Canal is just one park in our over 100 state parks and facilities that we have within the state. And everybody's competing for that same dollar, and everybody has the same issues or similar issues with the way the economy has been the last, say, 4 or 5 years, or prior to that, state budget, things like that. So it's, we get, the I&M Canal gets looked at just like, any of the other state parks, Giant City, Ferncliff, Dixon Springs, way down south, all the way up to Illinois Beach.
Yeah, but Dan, we don't care about them.
I know you don't. I do know that.
I know. So,
but no, it is, and believe me, it is frustrating. I get frustrated when, I don't get my staff filled, because those are the things that I can do at the site level. If I have my staff who runs the big equipment, things like that, we can do some more of these trail work type things. We will never be able to do the capital development type projects that, $4 million, $800,000, $5 million job. But the rescreening, we used to do a lot of rescreening on ourselves. We used to by ourselves. We've got the equipment.
So we just need to increase the manpower here.
It's the manpower and the staffing. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
So can you talk for a minute about like group events or events that use the trail and how people get permission to use it, or when they when you want them to get permission, kind of what the rules are, a little bit about that.
Well, the rules are, for example, a picnic permit. If you're just coming into one of the state parks, any park, I'll use the canal for example, whether it's Buffalo Rock, Gebhart Wood, Shannon, Stratton Park. Groups 25 or more need to have a picnic permit. It's free. You just call the office and we'll mail you one, email you, whatever you want. You stop in, pick it up. So that's one thing. Now the activity permits, where we have bike rides or for whatever event it may be, running races, anything like that. Those are our two main things: our bike rides and the running races, or even community cleanup events, things like that. You can email us at the canal and dan.bell@illinois.gov, and we will provide you an activity permit to fill out. And it either comes with you have to mark that you're going to send in waiver liabilities, or you're going to give us a certificate of insurance holding the DNR harmless. The biggest change in that is that whether it's not profit or if it's a not for profit or not, DNR has started implementing a 10% fee on whatever revenue is generated by that event. And there's mixed reactions internally about that, which I won't talk about, but a lot of people don't like that from the outside, and I can understand if you're not for profit and you're raising money for whatever event it is, or and you have to give 10% back to the DNR. But I will tell you this: that money that you pay that 10% fee to at the end of the event, and that happens regardless of whether you're organizing on the canal at Stratton Park or Gebhart Woods, or if you're just in Ottawa or you're in Shanahan or you're in Morrison, you're just getting on the I&M Canal using any part of the canal. That money will go back to the site. And we just got some money this year back to us from that 10%. Whatever's raised, going to go back to the site to be used in site operations. So that lessens it a little bit as far as the sting goes. But that's why we've done it, to help to get some of that money back to the site, to help that in particular site. It doesn't matter if it's Starved Rock or if it's us. So that money does come back to the individual site.
So, well, we wanted to open this up. Thank you, Dan. We wanted to open it up to other people's questions. So there's a chat box if you want to put your questions in. We can take some questions for a few more minutes. While people are thinking about that, Dan, Mary Tano, which is another name from the past, she just said she was glad she checked in, and she's glad to hear things are moving forward, but she needs to leave the call now. So she was here with the Federal Commission many years ago. So we do have some people who've been involved for a very long time on the call today.
Great.
So any questions, any more questions? Okay, so here's one. Under what conditions can volunteers help with work that you need done?
We have a volunteer program through the DNR. We welcome volunteers. There was this year, because of the COVID, we weren't accepting volunteers just because of the CDC guidelines of distancing and things like that. I think we've opened it back up now with phase we're in, but we can take some volunteers. Depends on some of the things. As far as volunteer projects go, if we have projects through an Eagle Scout program or things like that, or we can give a little bit of money to and do things, we like to do that. Most of our maintenance is heavy lifting, heavy equipment, things like that. And most people can only do that on a weekend. We don't do that on a weekend, and it takes more people. But the smaller things like river sweeps or the canal sweep, and like CCA does that event.
We're in the canal cleanup here in
Cleanup.
April. Yep.
Those events are all great. But you can sign up as a DNR volunteer. We can get you that paperwork. And if you have a particular interest that you want to do, we can work towards that as well. But any of the projects, you can help us with any kind of trail work that we may be doing. If you're available that day and you have it's the time, or if you want to do cleanups, or if you want to organize a particular section in Ottawa or Morris or Shanahan or LaSalle and clean up that area, that's fine. We want to help us fill some holes in the trail. That's great too. But you can email me again. It's dan.bell@illinois.gov, or go on to DNR's homepage and type in volunteers, and all that information will come up.
Perfect. So a couple more questions. What is the status of the Dulcimer Festival?
The Dulcimer Festival moved to Gould Park several years ago. So we really don't have anything to do with that anymore. So once they left Gebhardt Woods, they kept the name, and they had to leave because of the flooding and everything we had, and the destruction here. But we don't have a role in it like we used to. It's more with through the city of Morris and hosting it at Gebhardt or at Gould Park. So I don't really have any issue or any thing to do with that anymore. I mean, I was here when it first started in 1988, the very first one, and I enjoyed it all the way up to when they left. Maybe one day they'll come back, but as of right now, we don't have anything to do with those.
Oh. Okay, can you talk a little bit more about the updated shelters and facilities at Buffalo Rock?
Sure. We just completed, because it's been closed for 2 years. The first year, there was an issue, and the second year we didn't have reservations. But as of right now, the shelter reservations system is up. You are more than welcome to reserve the shelter at Buffalo Rock. We just replaced the roof and on the shelter, as well as the adjoining restroom facility. That was damaged 4 years ago last month by the tornado that went through Nate Plate in Ottawa, and it's all ready to go. It's up and running. Just give us a call at the I&M Canal office at 815-942-9501, or again, dan.bell@illinois.gov, and we'll send you out an activity or a shelter reservation permit. It's $25. The one thing we just opened up because of CDC guidelines and the phase, where you can have up to 50 people at the shelter reservation. You can't have any more than 50. And that's something new too that just happened with our camping. We didn't allow any group camping through the department because of COVID, but now group camping is available again at Gebhardt and Shanahan. And again, you can have up to 50 people. But as far as shelter reservation at Buffalo Rock, it's on. Come call us, email us, get your dates ready that you're looking for. So we're ready to go.
Okay, will the canal be rewatered west of the Nettle Creek Aqueduct to Saratoga Road after the construction?
That's our plan, is to do that. I'm working with Laura Burden, our landscape architect, regional landscape architect. Her office is at Bartlett, and our division of engineering in Springfield. And we want to clean the canal out to Wapakon Spillway at Saratoga Road with our heavy equipment crew. And yes, we want to reintroduce the water west, because we need that water in our Gebhardt Woods ponds, because without the water going west of the aqueduct in Nettle Creek, we have no water in the ponds at Gebhardt Woods. So yes, that is our plan. We need to clean it out with the heavy equipment crew and rewater that section. Yes.
So, okay, so how is the aqueduct over the Little Vermilion doing?
It seems to still be holding out. A few years ago we spent $100,000 on that project because it was leaking. We dewatered it. welded steel plate on there, we sealed it. We haven't had any issues. The only issue we have in flooding is that it'll go over the top through the holes that are cut in the top to relieve some of the water. But Little Vermilion Aqueduct should be fine.
So any other last questions? Well, thanks, Dan. We really appreciate you joining us.
I enjoyed
and
it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good.